So we're at the App Promotion Summit. Nobody has talked a lot about app promotion so far. We talked about App Store optimization and about alternative app stores and about other things. My objective with this is to give you an overview of the app promotion, not really the process, but to give you guidelines or commandments that will hopefully guide you better and help you not make mistakes when you buy marketing for your apps. I'm the second Argentinian to speak today. I'm from Argentina, so about 15% of the speakers of this conference are Argentinian, which is great. I don't think any other nationality except Germans or other Europeans are that overrepresented here. Is somebody else in the crowd Argentinian? No? No? Yeah, that guy I know. I'd love to see if you can raise your hands. I'd like to know who has apps, so who's an advertiser, so who's looking to learn about how to advertise apps? Can you raise your hands? Great, that's pretty good. And who is a competitor of me? Okay, all the other ones. Okay, it's not that many, or you're hiding. So originally this was going to be 10 commandments. I could only come up with 8, so it's 8 commandments of app promotion. Great, this works. So this is, I ran a little search on Google Trends to see what's, when did this mobile marketing or app marketing thing start? And it's a very new thing. You see, this is the Google feature that shows you how many searches are being done for a particular term and also news headlines. And as you can see, people searching for app marketing is only since 2009. Mobile marketing is a bit older. I don't really know what the beginning, in 2004, what people were searching. Maybe mobile marketing was some guy with a billboard walking down Oxford Street. But as you can see, app marketing is something that people are getting more and more interested in. If we go more specific to the things people are looking for, if we compare mobile app marketing with Facebook mobile ads and Google mobile ads, again, you can see an explosion of interest in the last couple of years, and they're all pretty much, people are looking for all these things, I would say, equally. So at Jamp, my company, we came up with this amazing algorithm to decide when you need to spend money on app promotion. You probably can you read from there? Just to summarize it, basically, if your answer is yes to any of these questions, just don't waste my time and just go do something else. If your answer is no, and most people fall into that group, then the next thing you should do is test your app, preferably with people that are not your parents or your siblings. If they love it, then definitely you need to spend some money on app promotion, because that means that that's going to be money well spent. The problem with app promotion is that it's pretty chaotic, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot of companies doing it, saying they do it, offering different things, and nobody knows what to do, how to do it. And in general, I noticed, even from the questions today that I saw at the panel, there's a pretty low level of understanding of the tracking, of the metrics, of what you should be buying, how, and so on. And in general, this, I don't even know if that number is correct, but it doesn't matter. There's a million of apps to compete with, very difficult to stand out, which is why you need app promotion. It's chaotic because, as opposed to web, there seems to be a lot more fragmentation in the kind of companies you can go and buy marketing from. Tracking, as was discussed a little bit earlier today, is very complicated. On web, it's all on the browser. That makes it easy. You use cookies, and that's it. On smartphones, it's a lot more complicated because you go to the App Store and you go from an app to the App Store, from a mobile website to the App Store, and so on. And there's also a lot of people not knowing what they're buying on app or mobile marketing, which also makes it complicated. So let's jump into the commandments or the guidelines. I've added this fire for dramatic effect. I'll do it again in case you didn't see it. There we go. That's how they were revealed. Let's start with the first one. And there was a bit of discussion about this in the morning. Don't spend $1 in marketing if your app is horrible. And this seems pretty obvious. These are little stupid apps, but we come across very often very big, well-funded apps, particularly from companies that were before doing web or something else and are jumping into mobile. We see horrible apps. And there are companies spending a lot of money in marketing with apps that are horrible, which is a really bad, stupid thing to do. So basically, everything that comes after this is completely useless if your app is horrible. And a way of making your app not horrible, it should solve a problem, it should improve on another app, it should be maybe a feature of whatever you're already doing on the web. But most importantly, the apps that are very, very good do one thing very, very well. Because the smartphone gives you a very small amount of space to do things. And if you do one thing well, then that's probably a good app. In terms of user experience, a lot of the apps that fail miserably try to invent some new original way of doing things. And there's a pretty good convention now about what works and what doesn't in terms of buttons, menus, and how you do things inside an app. So don't be a hero from that point of view and copy what's out there, which is pretty good. Another very important thing, which we also see that people constantly miss, to not include any viral or social mechanisms inside the app. Which again, if you spend money on that, the more virality the app has built in, the better spent that money will be. And this is pretty obvious, but again, it seems obvious, but we see a lot of people not doing it. You have to test it properly before spending money. Testing it, sometimes it's spending a little bit of money in some small market, and I'll talk about that a bit later. Second commandment, Gaston gave very good tips there, much better than what I can do. The important thing here maybe is to tie it a bit to the marketing part, which is if you're spending a lot of money in marketing and you have a messaging in that marketing, so the banner talks about something or the creative talks about something, it's important that when people arrive to the App Store, the description or what you're saying there matches that messaging. It's already a very hard work to make people first see your banner, then click on it. If they clicked on the banner, got all the way to the App Store, and what you're showing them is horrible, then again, that's a lot of money badly spent. I'm not going to repeat all of this because, again, Gaston did a very good job of explaining this. One thing I'm going to say about the screenshots, and by the way, the ones on the right are from Guide Central, because those are very good screenshots. There's a very good blog post from 37 Signals that talks about how to do great screenshots for your app. I'm going to let you take a photo of that. I recommend that you go there and you take those tips. The third and very important commandment, which we see a lot of confusion around, is the tracking and the measurement. So the first thing you need to understand is that in-app tracking or in-app events tracking has nothing to do with marketing attribution. And if you have very good tools for in-app tracking, that doesn't mean you can do app marketing and measure it properly. These are two different kinds of companies. I'm not going to be as shy as Stefan before, and I'm just going to say which are the companies. You should use any of these companies, mobile app tracking from HasOffers, or AdEven, who are here in the event, or AdX, or AppsFlyer, and there's a bunch more, but these work pretty well for marketing attribution. The most important thing is don't use the other companies, which I'm not going to mention, for attribution. Yes, use them for in-app tracking and in-app events. They work very well. Just don't use them for mobile marketing. It's going to create a problem for you and for whoever is the supplier doing marketing for you. Another very important thing that that I don't understand why people don't do, but we get a lot of advertisers that are not tracking what happens after the install. So again, this is essential. With any of the tools above, you can do that, and you can even connect it to the other tools that you use for in-app. But of course, it's very important that you look at what happens in the install funnel, not only from the moment you get the install, but what happens afterwards, in particular to measure the quality of whoever is giving you traffic. If you're not doing that, then it's a very poor way of spending your money. Another very important thing, we get a lot of advertisers that come to us and they just want to spend money, and they don't have an objective which they don't have an objective for their marketing. So here, I'll just give you a couple of examples of what are good objectives. I think you should have marketing objectives in terms of the market share of whatever your category is, or be a category leader. You can put objectives in terms of the amount of users you want, or the amount of revenues you want to generate in a particular amount of time. You can put objectives in terms of the viral traction you want to achieve, so what K factor, which means how many organic installs per paid install you're going to be getting. But what you can definitely not do is set objectives in terms of the rankings. And we get a lot of that. We get people that come, look, the only thing we want is to be number 5 in the ranking. That's not an objective. That is maybe a tool to achieve your objective, or it's maybe a symptom of achieving your objective, but that shouldn't be the objective. Another thing, there's a lot of ways you can pay for app marketing. You can pay for clicks, you can pay for impressions. These rules, by the way, these are general rules. Obviously, the more sophisticated you are buying mobile marketing, the less these apply to you. But as a general rule, we think it's pretty clever to just pay per install or per download. In some cases, if you can get someone to sell you on a CPA basis, which means when someone makes a purchase or spends money inside your app, or does whatever you want that person to do in your app, that's great. It's just that you're not going to find many suppliers that are going to do that with you. So what spending CPI allows you is to focus on just doing your app and do a great app, and not waste time figuring out how to optimize, how to buy clicks, how to buy impressions, and how to basically figure out that conversion funnel, which is mobile marketing. There's plenty of companies focusing on that, like my company and others here. So again, no need for you to have a team dedicated to that. Also, if you're measuring what happens after the person installed the apps, that's pretty much all you need. If you are just paying per installs and you're happy with that number, whatever that number is, and you're measuring if the quality is good or bad, that's all you need. There's no need to be spending in clicks, no need to be spending in impressions, and actually there's no need to be looking at many other factors, because you should only be interested in the quality, the lifetime value, the conversion inside the app, or whatever you're measuring for your app in particular. And basically what you want to do is eliminate the acquisition funnel risk. If you do everything yourself, you're basically buying impressions, you have to convert those impressions to clicks, the click has to convert to installs, and that install has to convert to some event inside your app in which you consider success. You don't want to do that. You want the impressions and the clicks to be our problem, the problem of the app marketing companies, and not the problem of your team. Another very important thing, and this is a problem we come across very often, we get a budget for a campaign, they want to spend, I don't know, let's say $10,000 a month, and we get one banner. And the problem with that is that creatives are a very big part of our work of optimizing your campaign. We need a lot of creatives, different variations, to be able to understand what creative works better for what kind of traffic or for what kind of network and so on. It's also the first thing the user sees of your app. If they've never heard of it, they're going to see a banner or an interstitial or whatever your creative is, or a video, and it's important that you make a lot of those. What we found is that when we have more than 10 variations of each type of creative, conversion, so the conversion in the funnel goes up by around 25%. So again, it's very, very important to have a lot of variations for your banners. If you go to our blog, there's actually a blog post from a couple of weeks ago with some tips to do good banners. And actually, we have templates there as well that you can just steal from us and use it for your own apps. Another thing we come across a lot is people having no idea how to conduct themselves when they are buying mobile marketing. We get queries not very different to that one. So what I'm going to try to do here is explain to you what determines a cost per install and how do you ask for a quote when you're trying to get a quote to run a campaign for your app. Basically, there's a few things that will determine the price. Obviously, the OS or the platform. Pricing for iOS is different from Android. That's basically because the user base is different depending on the country. Incentivized or non-incentivized, and this is a pretty important part. And another thing we run into very often. Does anybody not know what the difference is? Can you raise your hand if you don't know the difference between incentivized and non-incentivized traffic? OK, that's pretty good. Not most people know. Basically, incentivized traffic means that people are getting something in exchange to install your app. Normally, that something in exchange is virtual currency inside a game or some sort of reward. It's not bad, it's just that you have to understand that there's a difference. And the difference is ultimately in the engagement or the quality of that user. Traditionally, incentivized traffic is going to be a bit lower. But what we come across a lot is people that are comparing non-incentivized pricing to incentivized pricing, and that's pears and apples, and it's very hard to compete with that when you don't understand that difference. The size of the app is a very important factor. When I size, meaning in megabytes, so how heavy that app is, because if you're on a smartphone and you're on a 3G connection and the app is 200 megabytes, when you click on the banner and then you go to the store, you're probably not going to install it because you're on the street. If it's a 10 megabyte app, you probably will. My point is, the bigger the app, the more difficult it is to get people to install it, the more expensive app marketing will be. The other important factor is how much volume you're after. If you want a lot of volume very quickly, so if you want 10,000 installs a day, then again, the price is going to go up because you need to be showing your ad a lot more often. The ad inventory has to be flooded with your ads, which is, again, something that is going to take the price up. And then finally, any country or any other targeting variables is going to affect the price. It's not the same to acquire users in Brazil from acquiring users in the UK or India or Mexico. There are market dynamics that make that more expensive or cheaper. So this is kind of a general rule. I'm not going to go through each type of network or kind of supplier. A lot of them are here. You can talk to them. But just as a general rule, basically, green means that it's better for you. Red means that it's worse for you. And this is a general rule. It doesn't apply to everybody. It depends a little bit on how much you understand about each, about the marketing process. What I'm trying to say here is that the more you go to the aggregators and the people that are buying from the people below, the better it's going to be for the unexperienced buyer. For example, Facebook is a very good tool if you want low volume. You don't require a lot of expertise. You can load your campaign there very quickly, spend $100, and you can have a bit of traffic. The moment you start getting serious about that, then Facebook has some fallbacks, mostly in terms of basically the combination between CPIs and volume start getting complicated. Last commandment, just start small, and this is important. Again, we see people trying to become the top 10 app, which is wrong, in 10 countries at the same time without having a proper test of their app. We recommend starting with a small test budget, maybe in a smaller country, have an isolated, controlled experiment of how that goes, understand your metrics, and then look at the results, improve on the creatives, and then continue. That's it for the commandments. So just to recap, those are all the commandments. And that's it, basically. Just to finish, Jamp, we are a technology company that specializes in acquiring mobile users. We aggregate a big number of ad networks and anyone that can give us traffic. And through technology, we optimize campaigns and get users for apps. And that's it.